Good morning. It is July 19th, and we are here for our regular meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Airport District Board of Directors. Go ahead and do roll call.
Director Pick,
Here.
Director Leffel,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Chair Sani.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, would you lead us on that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communications and announcements, informal items.
None from staff.
I would just like to remind everybody that TMC is having their public meeting at 4:30 tonight at the Laguna Seca Hospitality Suite on the roundabouts on Highway 68. So if you have an idea or an opinion or just want to see what they're doing, I suggest you show up.
Were we gonna have somebody, were you gonna be there? or-
I'm going.
Okay.
You will go? Okay, because we don't have anybody from TMC at the moment, but that may change too today. We'll go on. Anything else?
The other thing is
Oh.
we did have special districts last night and I'll report on that when we get to it.
Later. Okay. Public comments on non-agenda items. This is a chance to go up to the mic and make any comment you'd like.
Madam Chair, my name is Paul Bruno. I'm a resident of District 2 for the airport out on Highway 68. I just got a quick thank you for the board. The filling of the vacancy was important. That you have all your seats filled and you fill them with the right person. You had two great candidates. I want to really express appreciation that you chose a pilot. It's very important that this board have somebody from the general aviation community serve on it, and choosing a pilot showed that you were serious about general aviation. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and go to the consent agenda. Anyone have anything?
Well, let me just ask, are you going to pull anything before I make my motion? I mean, that's valid.
Well, and sometimes I pull beforehand or let people know, no, I'm not.
Okay, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, or roll call. Sorry, Denise.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes. All right, nothing in deferred consent. We'll go ahead and go to regular agenda. First item up is our new board member, essentially. Scott, will you be helping with this, or attorney? I'll go ahead and read what it is, I guess. Administer the oath of office to board candidate to fill a vacancy on the Monterey Peninsula Airport District Board of Directors in Division 2 for an unexpired term ending December 2024.
And Madam Chair, as was announced at the last meeting, the selection for the position, the board selected Mr. Gagliotti for that position. So we'll invite him up into the well and I'll administer the oath of office to him. You raise your right hand, please. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully. Discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations. You are our newest member.
You get to sit up here now. You-
Yes, he's getting his.
He's
I think.
Since Dino's not here to defend his seat, you can choose which one you want.
I'm gonna ask, which one you, I know better.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you, board.
Yeah,
Thank you
welcome.
for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
For appointments, can we do that at this point, or should we do that at a different point in the agenda? We kind of talked about it before. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't call you.
Typically, appointments need to be actually agendized as an item.
Okay, so next
Yeah.
meeting,
So it
That's
needs
fine.
to be a subsequent meeting.
we'll take care of that next meeting and
Yeah.
have a conversation. We do have a couple openings on things, so. All right. I'll go ahead to the second item, the presentation, Public Relations Advertising Consultant Quarterly Report with Mr. Chidlaw, from Chidlaw Marketing.
Before Chris begins, Amanda is out with COVID, so she won't be able to join.
Oh, wow.
Chris. So I'll do the best I can to pinch hit for Amanda, which is going to be a feeble effort, but we'll do our best and walk you through the social media side of this as well.
Thanks. Well, we'll go from Amanda gets well. So that doesn't sound like much fun. Anyway, again, thank you. Nice to see everybody again. We're gonna go through this. You've seen most of this information. Oh, and welcome new director. Thank you. My name is Chris Chidlaw. I help with their marketing and PR for the airport. You've seen most of this information, whether it's through our monthly report or going through the whole budget process for fiscal 24. But we'll go over some of it again here for you. In the public relations and advertising part, this is just a summary of some of our bigger press releases that we did. This is covering March, April, May, and we also threw in June because we kind of wanted to get on a standard quarter. So then the next quarter will be July, August, September, and then it'll be October, November, December. So it makes a little bit more sense to go that way. We did some Youth Art Month, promote the airport youth exhibit, Women in Aviation Week, summer travel, a lot of media for that. A proclamation honoring Director Leffel for her years of service. We did an IndyCar terminal display promoting WeatherTech Raceway, which they were very excited about. We did some Gold Star Mother travel support. And again, when we had the airport had the instrument landing system restoration. As far as media coverage, lots of media coverage in the second quarter. We were in Aviation Pros announcing the $3 million federal funding. KIOA, KSPW, and the Carmel Pine Cone all picked up on our Art at the Airport Youth Art Gallery. The Luxury Travel Magazine we're in, featuring Monterey as one of the most luxurious destinations to take your private jet. ClassicCars.com we were in. Travel Guessing in Modern Luxury in Silicon Valley, featuring the Monterey Regional Airport. Reporting on the fire contract. Of course, we're in the Herald, KION, KSPW, the Weekend, and the Pine Cone. We have full-page print feature ad in the Salinas Valley Business Journal. The Monterey Herald did a front-page article on our Gold Star Mother. Carmel Magazine, we have a feature coming out this summer. I'm not sure exactly when the Carmel Magazine comes out. It should be up.
It's out.
It's out.
It's out.
It is out.
Yeah. And Coastal Grower, we will also be featured in their summer issue. So a lot of good media coverage over the last 3 to 4 months. Roadshow, which we're all familiar with. Michael and I have been on the road. We of course did it to the Monterey County Convention and Visitors Bureau. We went to the Monterey Peninsula Sunrise Rotary Club. We went to the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce special luncheon they had for us. We went to the Monterey County Farm Bureau. And we also went to the Salinas Rotary Club. So of course, we started with some of the bigger players in the market. I mean, you can't get much bigger than those organizations when it comes to this area. We're also going to have a luncheon coming up again with the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce, a different luncheon. It's a different group of people. And then another luncheon with the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce that we're still kicking around when we might be joining the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce. We also have neighborhood groups coming up. We also have an emphasis coming up in Capitola and Santa Cruz to reach those people. One that I apologize. We also, it's been a while, but we also did one of the Santa Cruz Chamber of Commerce as well. So those are some of the ones that we've done and more to follow. Our advertising focus during this time, it was a little bit of spring travel at the beginning, but then we really switched to summer for obvious reasons. In March, April, May, people are making their summertime travels. So we did a television commercial featuring what we have been doing, the one-stop connections, the party to Monterey. You can go just about anywhere in the country and the world when you travel through this great airport. And we also did some print advertising promoting the different destinations of the airport. We have new creative coming out that really focuses on our new branding, which is the easy and convenient way to travel, is what we're really going to hammer home over the next 12 months or so. And the commercial is just waiting some final approval and a couple changes, and that'll be up and running. During this time, our placement was with KSPW Local News, AION Local News, KCPA 10 o'clock News, which is actual KTVU out of the Bay Area. So a lot of Bay Area people that have moved to this area like to watch that news, which is very good for the airport to talk to those people as well. March Madness, the Masters Golf, Warriors basketball playoffs, who had some of the highest rated playoff games in the history of the NBA in this market. PGA Golf, U.S. Women's Open Golf that we just did, and although that is in July, so it's a little bit, but it was first week in July, but we really hammered home to be involved with that event that was out at Pebble Beach for obvious reasons. And then the Giants, who are having a fairly good season, we continue with that. If you notice one theme there's a lot of news in sports, and the reason for that, television right now has become so fragmented in prime time and at night with all the Netflixes and everything else. Prime time is not the prime time that you and I grew up with, where it's Mary Tyler Moore or it's whatever it is. I'm dating myself big time. But those days are over. But so what we really want to hammer is we know where the eyeballs are. Eyeballs are still watching local news because it's not taped, it's live. And also with sporting events are live. So those are the real things that we want to key in on. We're all over the British Open this week, the golf tournament. Print, we're in the Salinas Valley Business Journal, we were in the Monterey Herald, we were in the Monterey County Weekly, Carmel Magazine, and Coastal Grower. A lot of those is promoting the Seattle and Dallas service. That's kind of what we hone in on when we do the print. Nope. Other projects that we've been working on is also to get new Seattle creative out there. Michael has made it very clear that Seattle is incredibly important to the airport, so we have to make sure that service stays strong, keeping Dallas strong. Of course, we did a bunch that wasn't in there with the new jet, the first mainline jet that came in. Anyway, we put this in here, and this isn't a way to go, but we did put a lot of work into the content plan for FY 2024. And then we continue to work on sponsorships with Monterey Bay Union, of course, the soccer team out in Salinas, and the Big Sur International Marathon in April. Social media, I'll turn it over to Amanda. The annual reach, as you can see, and Amanda's just been killing it. I'm not a big Facebook person, but when I do go on there, I see Mary Ann with her family doing a lot of stuff, and Dino traveling somewhere in the world. But I see a lot of the airport too. So Amanda's really been doing a great job for us on that. And you can see it's paying dividends that we continue to get more and more people watching our social media platforms. 2023, of course, will be the biggest year yet for the amount of eyeballs that are watching our social media platforms. As you can see, average monthly reach in 2022 was about 105,000. In 2023, that's up to 284,000. The top 5 highest reported months have been June of 23, May of 23, and April of 23. So we're definitely trending in the right direction with all our social media and doing a great job of that. In the reported quarter of March through June, we reached the most people in June. So as you can see again, it continues to trend up, and the total reach was over 1,122,000. And we anticipate July, August, September to continue this trend as we keep hammering away. Total of the social ad spend for the period was $4,300, which is not a lot of money. And you can see paid ads reached over 500,000, website got over 233,000 people, and our social is over 250,000 people. Really, really great job by Amanda in reaching these goals. Again, total ad spend 4.3 thousand, reached 535,000, engagements 10,000, and total cost per result was less than 50 cents per person, which is pretty good. Website reach, as you can see, we're on track to have the biggest year with the website that we've had so far, with over 673,000 page views. That's really incredible, and also that just shows the growth of the airport. More and more people going to the website, you know, to book their flights and to find out what's happening at the Monterey Regional Airport. And that's kind of in a nutshell what we've been doing. We're also, you know, obviously very busy as we start the third quarter here, July, August, September, looking for new flights and other things that we can promote constantly. We met just a couple of weeks ago to lay out the third quarter, and we're just continuing to move forward the best we can to achieve the goals that you, the board, is looking for, along with Michael and the staff. So this is where the fun part starts. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you have questions.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see all that's going on and all the places we are. Go ahead and open it up.
Well, I don't have any questions. I would have an addition, though. On the 22nd, we had the Salinas
Oh, yeah.
Chamber and the rodeo mixer.
Thank you.
Probably one of the most successful ones that I was there. I think we had, what, 150 people. It was packed.
It was over 200.
It was over 200. Yeah, the most people I think we ever had at one of those mixers, and it was a good opportunity to showcase the airport.
That's fantastic. It just shows, it seems like all of these events that we're doing, more and more and more people are coming. It just keeps rising and rising. So thank you for pointing that out. And we should have added that.
Chris, I have a couple. So used to be that when we put up the new youth art, we had a little reception and brought the families in, whatever school it was, the teachers, and we would end up with maybe 40, 50 people, but it introduced a lot of the next generation to the airport, and they were very proud to be able to come and see their art and have something. Do we have anything like that planned for the next youth art show?
No, but I think that that's a really, really good idea. that
Yeah,
people-
Because
Yeah, we
right
didn't-
now, it's like we just walk in and it's there.
Yeah,
And
we didn't do it at the beginning because all of them were going out on summer break. So we were planning on doing it at the back end before we take it down.
So do we have any kind of a date on that?
We don't, they're not back in school yet. The teachers aren't there. So we will be working with Kathy Kopp to get.
And when
that
does the
scheduled.
next one come up?
I'm sorry, the next.
The next art show?
For the youth?
Yeah.
So we put this one in June. I think we were planning on doing one probably in November, because by the time they get back to school and they start to do their activities about November, they should have some product available for us to then install a new one.
So,
That's a great idea.
I mean, and if we advertise it, more people in the arts will come to support young people with art. The other thing is, if I don't know who's going to be in charge, but I'm going to ask you, to just make sure the board gets a heads up, not 2 days before, like, hey, be there at 5 o'clock, but as much time as possible when it's planned so that we all know that something's coming. Do also with the mezzanine change, do we have any idea when that's changing?
I can speak to that too. Yes, we're going to keep it up to the end of this year. So we didn't get it open until almost November. So we're going to keep it through the holidays. Then it's a quiet time usually for travel, and it's a good time to go dark for a little bit as we introduce the next one.
And it's so popular. I walked past the other day and some guy was like, this is great. I had no idea. So, yeah. Could we put a sign downstairs that says there's viewing on the mezzanine? Because some
There's
people
no
At
just,
the
reason we
stairs?
can't, no.
Hmm?
There's no reason we can't, no.
some people come in, check in, and then they go to TSA, and if they might as well come and spend some time. If they don't come up to the restaurant or don't go down the stairs, they don't even know it's there. So just a nice idea.
I like it.
So Is Amanda covering next door?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do not believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And I have some things I'll show you, but they not right this second. But there was a huge thing about the Airbus this week.
Oh.
And it had, I don't know, 100 and some comments on it about their bad service and how they're leaving people stranded. They don't have enough drivers, and it's been purchased by a nationwide company, and anyway, big, long thing. In fact, our other applicant was on there discussing it, our other board applicant. So I just think
You know,
we need to somehow get in front of that and pay attention to next door, because that's where a lot of the stuff comes. And someone else posted about the loud plane. I looked at it, it was like 77% for the planes and for the Sound of Freedom, and about 23%, like, I don't like it. But those are the kind of things, and it's facts that are needed to combat that. I could go on there with my opinion, but I don't know any of the facts because I'm not a professional airport person. So just kind of maybe if it's something that we could keep our eye on, because that's where a lot of the chit chat starts that gets out of hand.
I know Buzz PR is very big on Nextdoor. She's got me working on that with somebody, a different client, and my guy Alex, who does a lot of stuff, is getting very versed with it, and will of course work with Amanda. But Buzz PR is very, very familiar with Nextdoor and is pushing us to start doing more with that as well.
Are we doing any kind of thing with the Jazz Festival or any
I
of
have
the fall
talked-
events?
I have talked with her. We're in negotiations to see what we can do. I work, as you know, I sell MSD bus boards, so I do that, and we are in contact this year to see what we can put together between the airport and the Jazz Festival, which is coming up, as you know, here in September.
Interestingly enough, the Bach Festival ticket sales are way down
Yeah,
this
I
year.
didn't even know that. I just heard.
I
that.
never saw that they had a 50% off their tickets before,
Wow.
not as long as I've lived here. So I was thinking if we could get behind the Jazz Festival, because they do fly some of their performers in, and they fly them in here. So I think it's,
The marketing person was new last year to the Jazz Festival, so it's just gonna come together. But again, like I said, we've literally been in for the last 4 to 6 weeks trying to figure out what the airport can do with the Jazz Festival.
and then last, Ross Merrill and his group signed with the Board of Supervisors yesterday, the Friends of Laguna
Yeah,
Seca, for
yeah.
the new contract at
Yeah.
Laguna Seca. If you want, if you all don't know them, I'm happy to introduce you to them. But I think that that's a group that we need to, they are going to be in charge. So I think that we need to get with them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I was actually gonna try to figure out if my friend, Mr. Rigi, what's going on with him.
He would just
Stay.
be their
Yeah.
employee if
Yeah.
they keep him, and I'm sure they will. So, but
40-50 million dollars are gonna pump into that.
But Ross is the guy.
That's a great one. We will reach out. Thank you.
I did comment on the Airbus. That was a mistake. Because then people start commenting on my comment. So I said, darn, I should have kept my mouth shut.
That's why we need to stay away.
Mine?
I'm glad you brought up next door because I saw that too. That's is great. It's a great summary of kind of what we're doing. I'm glad that we are focused on public relations and we're sending out, a positive message. And I agree that the two channels, the news and sports are good ones. But I do think that we are kind of missing a couple of some other channels. And I do think that partnerships in this community is really important. And we're a hospitality community, and we are coming back, I think, in a big way, post-COVID. We do events here, the Jazz Fest, Laguna Seca. Bachfest has always kind of been kind of local, but the Big Hat and we do events here, and we want to attract more conventions. So I feel this airport should be at the center of all of that in some way. And so finding out those channels and making those relationships, I totally agree with Director Leffel's recommendation on that, and getting with, I did not know who actually won that contract at Laguna Seca, but yeah, we got to be next to them. and the Jazz Fest too. So
We're-
those,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, we'll reach out to, I'll email you and you can give me the prints and we'll reach out.
yeah, I mean, I'm just dovetailing on everything Mariana said.
I know one thing that with Mr. Narigi and Weather Tech, we've had a really good relationship.
That's
with
great.
Those guys.
Yeah, we should be
I was
leveraging
in
it
the
and
Indy car, they were thrilled. when we did the
Yeah,
Indy
yeah,
car
yeah.
presentation, So we will reach out.
yeah.
The bike guys want a bike guy, they want a bike in.
That'd
I'm
be
just
cool.
telling you,
That'd be cool.
You mean for the what is
for
it?
the MotoGP, for
Oh,
the,
yeah,
motorcycles,
MotoGP,
they-
yeah. And we've got F1 coming. And so, yeah, that's, on social media, to the point, like the directors, we should not be commenting on any of the social media because we will absolutely just draw complete attention. But there should be a response, from the airport, either directly or indirectly, but the message should be getting out to kind of clarify that. And so there should be somebody, and I don't know, again, if there's this Amanda or, but that needs to be a proactive role. And then the other thing about the relationship with these social media is the metrics. If we participate with them, we can get metrics. They track this stuff and they summarize this. And so that's the feedback that we can get. If a message gets sent out, what's the response coming in? And it's quantifiable.
Yes.
And we can make decisions on. So, and they're doing it for you, just pay for it. Instagram is another one that's connected, of course, to Facebook. Our demographics are changing. As you mentioned, I mean, we're getting younger families are moving into the area. They have means, they're coming from high tech, and so they utilize these things. TikTok, my daughter's on TikTok. I'm not, but my daughter's on TikTok, but a lot of moms are,
Yeah.
and again, if they're moving in from the high tech industry, they're on it. So finding a TikTok influencer, you can't directly, you can't advertise directly on him, but influencers are everything. So having somebody local that's a local TikTok influencer who goes to the Jazz Fest but goes and sees these things, that's how we're gonna. It's other eyeballs, but it's indirect, and it's somewhat multiplicative. So I think that those are kind of channels that we might want to take.
And I'll work with our other partner in the public relations.
Yeah.
Buzz PR, who I brought up, because she's very TikTok.
Exactly.
Influencer and all that kind of stuff.
It's another language. It's a completely
I'm
different,
not-
and it's a skill set. No, I totally understand, but it's, it's a missed opportunity if
Yeah.
we're not leveraging it.
Yeah.
So those are my things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dino, I don't want to forget about you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, Chris, great presentation. A lot of good news in there, and great work. I think I just want to echo strongly the comments by Director Leffel and Gagliotti about the need to really crack the code on sort of local social media platforms, next door and whatever else is being used. It is a language I don't understand. I don't speak it, but I know it can absolutely crush us when we don't get ahead of it. So just want to reinforce those messages. And then just mention that I know that we are working on this cell phone data piece that I'm not sure how much Chris is involved in, but Mike, you may want to just briefly summarize as part of this effort that's coming. I know we're working on a dashboard to get something out of that data.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, Director. Next week, we will have another opportunity to provide comment to the vendor, Madden Media, who is providing the dashboard itself. We're about halfway there. When they created it initially, it was created with a bent more towards what the information that Visit Carmel or the hotel operators in Carmel would need. We need some tweaks to make sure that the data is usable for our air service development efforts. And we're going to have that conversation with Madden next week. But the progress is good. It's a little slower than what we might want, but it is good. And we used a little bit of the data that was generated at when we were at Jumpstart a couple of weeks ago, back in June, actually. And I think there's a lot more there to harvest. It's just presenting it through the dashboard and presenting it in a way that it is useful, more useful to the airport's air service development efforts.
Thank you.
That-
That's all I have.
Got a few things. The app is now ready. Do you discuss that? And
I believe
their
we are
services?
finally to the point where the new iOS app is on the Apple app store. The Android app is up and ready, and so I think we're at a point now where we've got total control of our app future. The new management firm on the app is a firm that will be in place for many years. They were the ones that we used several years ago to build our website. And they will manage the app the way that we need it to be managed, and it won't be a singular person managing it. So I think we're past that storm, and we look for the app. One of the things that we talked about during our quarterly meeting on marketing was how we can promote the app again as the new and improved, or whatever language we choose to use as we promote it, to get people back to the App Store to download the new app. Unfortunately, we can't do an update to the app that was there. That would be the easy thing to do, but we couldn't do that. So it's a brand new app that will ostensibly do exactly what the previous app did, but we'll be able to access it and massage it as necessary.
So does the old app stay? I mean, I've got it on my phone,
Right,
right?
yeah, yes.
And so I ultimately have to go and delete it to
Yeah.
reinstall the new one.
Yes, the recommendation of the Apple folks that we've been in communication with, or Chris's team has been in communication with, is that we leave the old app up and functioning for a period of time yet to be determined, so that it still provides that level of service to the almost 4,000 people that carry it on their phone right now. The intent is to slowly but surely wean that app off.
Well,
the
getting
iOS
people
system.
to the new, and is there a way to, so I mean, you can't do an update change or whatever,
Nope.
you can't,
You can't,
there's,
unfortunately, because we lost control of that app.
Yep.
And we can't do anything with it beyond what it does on its own, and that's update the real-time information like flight information and things that it can do. We can't do anything beyond that.
And like you, it's been incredibly frustrating to get that. We have spent hours and hours and
yeah, I'm
hours
sure.
on the phone with Apple, trying to figure this out. Alex has, the new team has. And as Michael said, progress is being made, but it's been, you just couldn't get the answers that we were looking for. It was very frustrating.
Well, and I'm looking for the communication that we need to have, that please go here and download this, because I mean, I know about it sitting in this seat, but otherwise I'd have no idea.
As
You
Michael
know, I would continue to go to what's there. So,
As Michael said, as we finally think we're there, you're going to see a lot more pushing of
Okay.
telling people about.
so you're not quite there. I mean, you
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah, we-
finally loaded and we've got control of,
Finally loaded,
the-
we have control. We just
Okay.
we wanna do a slow walk to the
Sure.
finish line.
No, you want to have a beta test before you
There.
throw,
We want to
throw,
do
throw
this.
the signs out. I
This
get
has
that.
been, this has been a hair
Painful.
puller. It's been interesting. I never would have thought it was this complicated to do.
Yeah, I understand, I know. And then it's difficult because you end up with two and whatever. So, but long-term, the idea is that the other one will go away as well, or we'll just
Yes,
say this
yes.
is no longer updatable and things of that nature.
Yes.
Anything with the crisis communications? I know there was a request a couple months ago for communication that kind of needs. I know we've seen, I personally have seen better on Instagram and Facebook for things, but is the team working on kind of a overall plan for
Yes,
that?
yes, we met again a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm working with Buzz PR. She's more familiar with crisis like that, so she's helping us put a plan together.
Who's that?
Buzz PR.
Oh, Buzz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we should
Okay.
have something for you
Okay.
Sure.
In a few months or whatever.
sooner than.
Okay. The roadshow presentations, I'm just kind of curious. It's great to see all the places we're going. And I know, I believe we've kind of seen some of your presentations. Any pros and cons, overall feedback? Are there any, just overall, either way? Are you learning new things from that and understanding what other, flight patterns might be wanted or air services or things like that?
I'm sorry, on what part?
No, I think what she's asking is, as
Feedback.
we're out on the road show.
Oh,
What kind of feedback we're getting?
Oh,
Feedback has always been very positive. You know, there's always a couple of folks in the audience that will suggest new routes or talk about the current routes and their experiences with those. But on the main, it's been very positive. People appreciate the update and will continue to do that. I don't know how you want to interpret this, but Chris did the Sunrise Rotary, Peninsula Rotary in April, and they've asked for another presentation already. So I'm not sure whether we did such a great job.
Or no one's available.
Or they're saying, what the hell did you say? I don't know whether.
I think it might be a combination. But the road show, I mean, I know sometimes we're in the bubble here, and I've said this many times, and it's really, really the truth. They love this airport. People love this airport. And you know, we started with the Salinas Rotary, the big club in Salinas. How many fly out of the Monterey region? Every single hand went up that is thrown out of the airport. And the feedback is always just, thank you, keep up the good work. And yeah, and they're excited about the new tournament.
Yeah, they are.
Great. Well, and I want to acknowledge, I mean, I think it was a couple of years ago where we said, let's go out and let's start doing, I term it roadshow. I think that's kind of, we've termed it, but it really does make a difference. And it helps build that positive camaraderie that we're looking for and sharing with the community what we're doing and the positive things here. So
Well, you know,
great
when
to
we did
see.
that MCHA one, which you were at,
Mhm.
we had 3 or 4 people afterwards. Can you come to our organization? Can you come? So that's
Yep.
the best feedback we can get.
Great. My only other question, and I understand Amanda's not here, so please let me know if you don't have the answer. I'm just curious. I mean, there's quite a spike from May to June, from 238 views to 429. Did we bump advertising dollars, or did we have some new initiative, or just
I think
June
we
was a
just spent
month
little bit. I
for?
think we spent a little bit more.
Just a little bit. I think we spent like $500 more. Our typical spend per month is about $1,000 on
Okay.
paid social. We did a little bit more behind to test the market. We were a little more active in Chicago than we had been in the past. We wanted to focus on Chicago and see if we could generate.
And I know we were talking buzz PR and even getting people to comment and things like that sometimes really makes a difference. So I was just curious if there was something that was attributable. It's great to see.
It
And
is
many
awesome.
eyeballs
Yeah.
is awesome.
He's doing
Yeah.
a good job.
All right.
So just as a takeaway, community events, they're more involved in the community and continue to work on social media platforms and that will.
And the latest is Mr. Chidlaw and I will be playing golf in the Farm Bureau
Right.
annual golf outing in October. I was invited to represent MCCDD in the golf event around the USGA golf event around the Women's US Open at Pebble Beach. So we had an opportunity to network there a little bit. So we're more active in the community than I think we've ever been, and we'll continue to do that. We'll be, obviously, this weekend is the rodeo. We're a big sponsor there, and the air show will start getting lots of traction here soon. October should be a huge month for the air show. It's probably the most impressive lineup that they've ever had, at least since I've been here. And I think it will do very well. And we amplified our sponsorship there a little bit to capture that, because the show will be, I think, a resounding success if the weather allows. for the community, and we want to be a part of that.
Quick question.
Sure.
So the Thunderbirds and the Snowbirds are coming.
Right.
That's only happened once before that I can remember, where we had both teams. Probably because of, they had canceled and they rescheduled, so, but that's good. The Thunderbirds, I assume, will be based out of here as
They
usual.
will. The Snowbirds will be based out of Seattle, out of Salinas. Thunderbirds will be here, as they have in the past. So we'll have a few fence hangers as they do their routine here, the pre-flight routine.
Very good.
And I'll see some
We'll
of
get
you
you.
tomorrow night, where rumor is that you could be coming home with a group victory. Who knows?
Or MST.
Yeah, I know.
Don't jinx it for
I
us.
was rooting for you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
All right. On to, oh, I didn't do public comment on that item.
Just
So go ahead and,
ask for it. Yeah.
yep, I will go ahead and ask if anyone would like to make public comment
Well,
on item 2, public relations and advertising. All right. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and continue. So we are asked to adopt. The third item is resolution number 1851, a resolution authorizing and improving the construction service agreement between Monterey Peninsula Airport District and Coastal Paving and Excavating, Inc. for Sky Park Drive and the 2801 property pavement rehabilitation. Would
Wait,
like
Sue,
that
for
one.
me. Good morning. You get another Chris. As the board, annually, we adopt the capital improvement budget, which the board did in June. And in that budget, we had the 2 projects of doing pavement repair, both at Sky Park. So starting at the end of, in front of the terminal here and going up towards the tower and then down towards Del Monte Aviation. So those 2 areas of Sky Park. And then the Fenton and Keller property parking lot. So we bid them together with 2 separate components in it, Schedules A and Schedule B, to get the best price that we could. And that went out to bid. So Neil Engineers did the plans and specs for us. We went out to bid on the project. We had 3 respondents on the bid, as you can see, Coastal Paving, Monterey Peninsula Engineering, and Granite Rock Company. And Coastal Paving came in at $390,520 for both phases of the project, which is actually a really good price. Neil Engineers has talked to them. They are solid with that price. They wanted to make sure that they didn't miss something in the bids, and they did not. So we're really happy that, we are able to move this project forward. We work around the airport with our paving and our roads as we can. We did, the front of Fred Kane Drive in front of the terminal a couple of years ago. And the parking lot at Fenton and Keller, I don't believe has been touched in a really long time. And of course, we just purchased the property in 2019, but it really does need to have the work done. So we're really happy that we have a good contractor, a local contractor, a good bid. And with that, we recommend that you award the contract to Coastal Paving and Excavating using the bid alternate, which was adding some curbing to it as well, just for water, for rain and retention, and for moving the rains and moving it to the storm drains in an amount not to exceed $397,720. And I will entertain any questions that you might have, but that staff recommendation is approved, resolution
question.
1851. Director Miller?
Yeah, when I first read this, can that be correct? I mean, why such a disparity in,
I can't answer the why disparity, but it is, again, we reached out to the contractor. We confirmed that they had understood all of the components in the bid specs, and they said that they did, and their numbers here add up to what they said. So
Yeah.
We have a smaller contractor for sure, they are smaller, they are local. But yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, good for us, you
Yeah.
know.
we'll take it.
What did Neil Engineering estimate the contract at? Did we have that?
Total, about $600,000.
About 600, okay. Yeah. Yeah, impressive. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Pick? No.
Pleasant surprise at the bid. No questions.
Yeah, we talked about this in finance. There was no finance committee, but I did meet with our controller and our executive director and our deputy director. And, I asked the same questions. Did they understand that they have to use prevailing wage? Do they understand they have to do this and that? And the answer is yes. So, I mean, a bid is a bid, and hopefully they won't go bankrupt on it, and hopefully we'll get a good paving job. They have a good reputation. They're just a smaller company that my guess is they got the crew and they want the business. So, so with that, I'm good with it.
I had all the same concerns. Everything's already been said. We're comfortable, right? I mean, that's just it.
Yeah, our recommendation is don't walk toward this one, run toward it, take it down.
All right.
Yeah.
What provisions, I didn't read the full contract, but what provisions do we have? I mean, there's a bond, right? So if
Yeah, it's
anything-
bond.
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
Yeah, then I'm good.
I will say, one more thing on this. There has been, rumor that we were going to, destroy the 2801 property completely, that we were going to level that lot for our new terminal. And I think this will help put that rumor to bed, that we are putting money into that parking area and that we are not taking that building down. So I think as people are confused, they hear maybe a little bit about the front building and then they think it's the whole entire space, but this should help stop that. So anyway,
I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
do you want to take it out to public?
Public comment?
Yes, I wish, yes, I would like to do that. Thank you. Not on my agenda here. I gotta put PC everywhere, I guess.
It's hard when there are no.
Yeah.
places.
Well, there's a couple people out
Yeah,
there.
there. I'll go ahead and take it out to public comment if anybody'd like to go to the mic and say anything on this item, agenda item 3 for a regular agenda.
Madam Chair,
And-
I would move that we move resolution number 1851.
Second, okay, you can have it.
You're
We'll get your
first.
name on the board here.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Director
Please.
Gagliardi,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes,
Director Miller,
Yes,
and Chair Sani.
Yes. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward. I got to get back to my agenda.
regular programming.
I put my paperwork in the wrong order. Item number 4 is a resolution 1852 authorizing resolution authorizing the signature on all documents related to the well distribution system to the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District at 2801 and 2999 Monterey, Salinas Highway in Monterey. So signatures.
This is the Chris show.
Or Scott with me on this one. So as we're working through the well analysis and one of the things that we needed to do after getting the wells drilled and doing the evaluation of how much water we think we can get from there, we have to submit documents to the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District for them to then approve and give us approval on how much water we can draw from those wells. They require authorization from the board for us to submit those documents. So that's what this is related to, is we just need to submit the documents so they can then do the evaluation and report back to us and give us a number of how much water we can use out of the 2 wells.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Questions? Or comments?
Do we do the analysis or the district does the analysis?
Mhm. Yeah, we have Beerman Hydrologic has been doing the analysis for
Okay.
us, and we have all of that. We're ready to submit. They just told us that they need authorization for, from the board for us
Perfect,
to be
yeah.
able to do the submission.
But they verify our number.
Correct.
Perfect.
That is
okay,
correct.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't want them to figure out that.
No, they look at everything. They look at all of the analysis, all the testing that's been done,
Yes,
where we drilled, where's the watersheds, et
Yeah, yeah,
cetera,
yeah.
and then they'll provide us a response back.
I'm curious, again, I haven't, are we in or out of the basin, Seaside Basin?
Look, we are out of the Seaside Basin. That has been a question going back
Yeah,
and forth, but we
totally.
are, and because it was Monterey Shale that we went into.
Okay,
And there were a few, so it's on the edge, but we are definitely out of the basin.
okay, perfect. No more.
Thank you.
Maybe you can take just a couple minutes. I don't know if our new board member's up to date on where we intend on using the water. Are you familiar with our plans for?
I don't need it. I appreciate the invitation. I mean, if we've got our own domestic water, I think that's great. I'm very well versed in kind of like
The water?
Yeah, water. Yeah. And I sit on the basin. And I've been on Monterey 1 and so, yeah. So I understand the water and I think that if we found this hole, then let's use it. It's ours. It's extremely valuable. So I
Yeah.
absolutely appreciate it.
So it's non-portable, it's not drinkable water,
Actually, the Fenton and Keller could possibly.
could possibly be.
I mean, water, even non-potable water, returned water is valuable now, so yeah.
We intend on using it at the car wash, which is now hooked up to Cal Am. So
Yeah, which is
we could
great.
free up all that water.
And we get that, yeah. This basin or Seaside did a similar swap or similar conversion of use with Black Horse. And so I think these are smart things that we need to be doing for these opportunities. So, but again, I appreciate the invitation.
A couple of things. Do we know what the timing is once this is submitted?
They have not given us, they've been reviewing the information. They actually have it in their hands, so we've already had discussions on it. I don't know how quickly they turn these around. I don't.
Okay. Once we get the turnaround, what's our next step?
Our next step is that we are currently doing the environmental evaluation on the actual project of doing a distribution system.
Mhm.
So that has started. Once we have all of that, we'll have something to bring back to the board to look at and approve. So hopefully in the next 6 weeks or so, we will have an environmental decision for you to look at.
So I'm a little sensitive to the term distribution system. So, is this truly a distribution system or is this just the piping that we need to move the water on our property? We are not creating a new distribution system. There is an issue here if that is the case. So I think
No, initially it is creating the piping. The initial use would be to move the water to, as we've talked about, take the car wash off of potable water. So being a term of art, distribution system means we're moving water to distribute it to the car wash. We're not taking it beyond that. However, there are some plans, as we've discussed, to look at what its use could be in the new terminal building as well. So we can use a different term than distribution system, but it is not intended to distribute the water to every building on the airport, which would be a true distribution system.
I want that to be clear since there's a lawsuit pending. I think this is so important and I know we've been struggling forever. I came on the board and I think the second month is when the Army Corps of Engineers gave the airport the all clean on the wells on the north side that they had cleaned them to the whatever standard they clean them to. And I know we've been working for 14 years trying to figure out how to use that water. So I'm just excited that this opportunity came forward and that we are able to use this. And if we can free up some Cal-Am water, that would be fabulous, both cost-wise and for the community as a whole. So I'm fully in support of this.
Could I just clarify? So the Peninsula Water District is just reviewing our numbers
And they
and
have,
agreeing with them,
they have
or,
to give us an approval on how much we can draw from those wells. So that's what this is about.
and that approval, I mean, so they could say you can take half of what the well is pumping or something of
it's-
that nature?
Correct. Yeah, there are restrictions already that there are calculations and restrictions that will be put on it. We can't draw 100%, no one can. But they will come back with us and come back and look at the analysis, look at all the testing, look at the drawdown rates that were done in the testing period, and come back and give us our allocation out of those wells.
And this is to keep the water that's underneath in the basin
Mhm.
more balanced ultimately. Okay, all right. All right, I didn't understand that. I mean, I guess I just needed clarity on exactly. So they ultimately are the ones to say how much you can take out of
That is. their
the basin or the shale or
And
what.
then will they claim they found a new water source?
Of course.
I think you know.
You maybe are more versed on this. I'm still learning.
That'll be
so.
their big ad that they found X amount of new water.
Whatever leads you. to-
Well, I move that we approve resolution 1852.
Let me
Second.
take it to public comment. I'll let you guys, go ahead and open it up to public comment. And seeing none now, I'll go ahead and accept your motion
Okay,
And a second?
and roll call, please.
Director Gigliotti,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Aye.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Miller,
yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes. Anytime we find water. Good thing. All right. We actually are gonna hear about drones today, I believe. Been on about 3 agendas, but we've had some long meetings and long agendas. So just waited for you to join us. Director
wonderful.
Gagliardi.
We give you the whole seat, but you only need to. It's that exciting.
I'm on it. I'm on there. I'm on it.
Even Public comment was there.
So let me share my screen. This is again, I was asked to put together a presentation on drone and balloon regulations. Let me share my screen here.
Hey, Scott, this is Dino. You're very, very faint, hard to hear.
He's mumbling.
I'm just testing you.
He is to himself.
Okay, is that better?
Yep.
All right. As I mentioned before, Wednesday, it's the drone and balloon presentation. Be there. I couldn't resist, sorry.
I don't think
Uh,
you'll get another vacation anytime soon.
Well, we had a bunch of kids on our vacation and that was,
It rubbed off.
there's an episode of Phineas and Ferb that has that in it. And I saw it I heard it about 50 times because they kept replaying. Anyway, let me share my screen. I've got a presentation here on drone and balloon regulation. And here we go. Okay. So in 2021, the FAA updated their regulations related to drones and unmanned balloons and UAVs, unmanned aeronautical vehicles. So I was asked to give just a brief presentation, but let me start with why are regulations important. Here's a video that we can watch that shows This is about, if I remember correctly, about 8 or 9 years old, really when it was the Wild West of drones. There weren't a lot of regulations, but this is a helicopter that's flying off of the LA coast. And you'll see a drone. Now, in case you missed it, when you saw the helicopter bank to the left, there was a drone that was flying in the area that was higher than would be allowed under today's regulations. And the helicopter pilot took some evasive action to get away from it, right? So this is why regulations are important, because a drone like that, when you have, let's call it, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, something like that hits a rotor blade, you've got real trouble as a pilot of that helicopter if that hits your helicopter. Here's another one. This is a commercial flight. This is what I will call a hobbyist balloon that has been launched with a camera on it. And you've got Delta Airlines Flight 159 from Boston to Detroit that you see in the distance. It will come up very quickly. And again, here's another reason why regulations are really important. It's 38,000 feet. You can see how quickly the airplane came into the view and then out of the view. Now, the small note on the bottom, this was previously not required, but these balloon operators did this. The balloon had NOTAMs filed, contained an onboard radar reflector and a beacon, and ATC and local air traffic control was advised of this. Doesn't stop it from happening.
Yeah.
These were not close enough to be an incident, but you take that plane a few minutes later and maybe it might have gotten sucked into an engine, right? Again, this is from about 5 or 6 years ago. There are regulations again today, additional regulations that might have prevented this. But they did take the additional steps of putting the onboard radar reflectors. Now there are certain regulations that go along with that we'll see in just a minute. But so here's the issue with regulation. When you have unduly burdensome regulations and the risk is low for non-compliance, then you get a high level of non-compliance. Previously with drones, many people would think, and many people still think, although it might be erroneous today, many people think, well, if I buy a drone and I fly it wherever I want to, if there's an incident, I'm just keeping my mouth shut and that drone is just going to be gone and I'm just going to call it a day. Drones now come with serial numbers, unique identification numbers, and they can go back to the manufacturer, track when it was sold, from what store to what wholesaler, or of what manufacturer to the wholesaler to the store to the individual who purchased it. So now the risk from non-compliance has substantially gone up. If you buy a drone and you cause an incident, there's a good likelihood they're going to know who it is that bought that drone. And if you were to say, well, I bought it, but then I sold it on eBay, you're going to be required to disclose who you sold it to. So there will be some tracking that's going on. But the point of all of this is the regulations are not unduly burdensome. Yes, they require some compliance, but they're not unduly burdensome. So what the FAA has aimed for is the right amount of the right mixture of safety with a minimal amount of burden, so you get maximized compliance. And here are the regulations that apply to drones. It's 14 CFR Part 107. And usually people just call it Part 107. This is the licensing requirements for commercial operators. It also has rules for recreational hobbyists. And we'll go through some of those today. Drones, you'll see these acronyms sort of interchanged. They call them UAS, or unmanned aircraft systems. The advisory circular 107-2A, which again is 104 pages, but not all of it applies to drones. About 15 to 20 pages will apply if you want a recreational use. About half of it applies if you want a commercial use, if you want to make money flying a drone. These are the general rules for flying a drone for a recreational or hobbyist purposes, non-revenue generating. You can fly it within a visual line of sight. You've got to be at or below 400 feet in altitude. You must give way to manned aircraft. Never fly over groups of people. Never fly over stadiums or sports events. Never fly near emergency response efforts such as fires. The UAS can weigh no more than 55 pounds. Most of them today weigh far less than that. With the technology that is increasing and getting smaller and smaller, drones are really, the standard drone today weighs less than 10 pounds. But nevertheless, you can be up to 55 pounds. You must register the UAS using the FAA's online registration system. I actually have done this. It took about 5 minutes to do this. So it's not very burdensome to register your drone. And what you're really doing is you're registering your name with the drone you have and the serial number to make it easy for them to find you in the event that, that your drone causes an issue. If you're flying, and this is important, if you're flying within 5 miles of an airport, you must provide prior notification to the air traffic control tower. We're actually going to see an example of how that works here in just a moment. Actually, we're going to see that now. Here is a gentleman who has a website called Life on Tech. He's an avid drone person, and he flies within 5 miles. It's about 4.5 miles, 4.8 miles or something of an airport in Florida that he flies nearby. We'll see what happens here.
At a fairly popular place to fly drones, it's called Bayfront Park, but this park just so happens to be just within the 5 mile radius, close to the Sarasota International Airport. So,
Okay, so he's got to call them. Again, it is a park designed for drones. So it's fairly standard. All of these individuals know you have to call the tower and let them know. And here is his phone call to the tower.
Hello, Sarasota Tower. Understand you want to fly a drone?
yes.
Absolutely. You said, I think I got the information, it'll be 4.8 miles south of the Ringling Museum at 180 feet.
It's actually 4.8 south of the center of the airport, and it's
Okay.
about half a mile south of the Ringling Bridge at 150 feet.
150 feet? That should be no problem at all. What
Okay.
time are you going to be doing that today?
Probably at 1 o'clock, so 15 minutes from now.
15 minutes from now? And how long do you think it'll be up?
10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you calling, and yep, no issue whatsoever. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right. Not bad. A little confusing, a little scary. Sounds like they got somebody that knows what's going on there, though. Cool. I'm going to go fly.
Okay. So now those phone calls are fairly frequent to that airport, so they know what to expect. But you're going to get asked questions like, where are you flying? What general location? What altitude? What time are you going to start? How long are you going to fly? So they'll know in the event there is aircraft in that area, they can advise the aircraft, stay clear of that area. And they pretty much know they've got it bookmarked as far as what time it's going to start, what time it's going to end, what your altitude is going to be. Now, again, as you can see, the guy said, I'm going to be just a half a mile south of a bridge. If there's an aircraft flying at 150 feet within a half a mile of a bridge, there are bigger issues going on than the drone, obviously, right? But that's what they want to know. They want to know if you're within 5 miles of an airport, generally where are you going to be and what altitude are you going up to, so they can advise people if they're within the vicinity to stay clear. Which, again, I have not personally tried making that phone call. It'd be interesting just to see, to do it sometime for experience to see how it works. But air traffic control are supposed to be trained to take that call, get the information, and then they can use it to monitor traffic in the area. Now we're going to shift from recreational to commercial use, because there is a different set of regulations. Anytime Much like as you pilots know, much like when you fly an airplane, you can't do it for commercial use unless you have a commercial license. You can't get, paid compensation for that. Same thing with a drone. If you're going to get compensated for flying that drone, and I'm thinking things like, you always see the real estate videos, right? With the drone flying over the house. Well, most of those individuals that do that are licensed. Some do it and aren't licensed and they're running a risk by doing it, but most of them are licensed. So you do need to, you need to obtain a remote pilot certificate to do that operation that's paid, or be under the direct supervision of someone who holds a certificate. You have to register the aircraft again using the FAA's online system, and you've got to follow all the operating rules in accordance with Part 107. Now, there are more rules, more details. You can, in some instances, fly over people. You can, in some instances, fly with packages that you intend to drop, and we'll get that here in just a minute. Oh, wait, that was for drones. Where did it go? Anyway, I think my slides are mixed up, but we'll get to it in a second. The regulation, again, does allow you to fly over crowds of people, provided that in the event of a failure of the drone, you need to fly it in a way that protects the safety of the individuals below you. And what exactly does that mean? I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I suspect
it might be like Monterey Fire is protecting people at an event and flying it.
could be, yeah. It could be, again, I'm thinking it could be that if you're flying over people that you, for example, you're not flying over a crowd directly for the entire length of the crowd, that you fly crosswise so you go beyond them from one side to the other. So if you have a failure, once it reaches down where the people are, it would be beyond where the crowd is. Does that make sense? If you're flying at 20 miles an hour one way. And we'll talk about balloons here for a minute. And I thought this was interesting. I included balloons because Part 101 includes balloons. These are unmanned free balloons, which is a non-power driven, unmanned, lighter than air aircraft in free flight. That's the balloon we saw with the plane that went past it. There are regulations for this now. Used to not be any. It was truly the Wild West. You could let go a balloon with a camera on it. And you've seen, I think many of you know that you can see these on YouTube. People have let these up. They'll go up to like 100,000 feet. The balloon will pop, the camera will come down, and then a parachute will deploy, and they'll try and figure out how high can they get the balloon just for fun. I have different ideas of fun, but everybody's got their own thing.
100,000 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them have gone up 100,000 feet. It's crazy. An unmanned free balloon may carry a single payload that weighs up to 6 pounds. And these also, by the way, apply to drones as well. An unmanned free balloon, so you can carry one payload up to 6 pounds. You can carry multiple payloads. Each individual payload may not exceed 6 pounds, but the total may not exceed 12 pounds. So the idea is they don't want this to be so heavy that if it comes down, it's really going to hurt somebody. Now, depending on how high you are, 12 pounds is going to hurt, but you cannot launch a balloon from an airport without permission. I can't imagine getting permission from someone to do that, but that's in the regulation. It says you can't launch it from an airport without permission. You need to be able to see 5 miles, no more than 50% cloud cover at launch, and across your entire flight path. Can't fly over a town or an open air group of people for the first 1,000 feet of vertical flight, but after 1,000 feet, you can. Your balloon and its payload cannot be a hazard to people if it should hit them. And again, this is where I say, this is what the regulation says. And then it says you can't have more than 12 pounds. Now, again, if 12 pounds is coming down, I don't know, sounds like a lot to me, but it is what it is. You need to have 2 ways to terminate the flight. One would be a manual cut, a timer cut, a balloon vent, or the balloon can pop if it gets too high. This is where some of them have gotten up to like 100,000 feet. And just by expansion, ultimately they pop and then they come down. This is not like a helium balloon. This is a totally different kind of balloon for that purpose. You do have to have a radar reflector so that the payload will show up on radar. if you have a payload. You also have to have a strobe light that can be seen 5 miles away if you fly before sunrise or after sunset. And if the payload string is more than 50 feet long, you need color streamers that can be seen from a mile away. These were the radar reflecting streamers that they were talking about at the bottom of that video clip. So the object of this is, if a pilot in an airplane is flying, the hope is that the streamers will reflect on radar and the pilot can then deviate to avoid the balloon, up in the air. We do have a page on the website for UAS and drone information that has a summary of this information. I've got some information to get to Amanda to throw some additional information up there. But we do have a website to give information to people. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll go ahead. I believe this came out of the balloon that was floating around like in February and that.
Yeah.
So that was the request, and just trying to understand. I know that drones are also used in the community for public service and things of that nature. So
From everything I know about that balloon, it was not authorized.
there certainly was a lot about it, right? We'll remember back to it.
This-
All right.
This is somewhat timely in as much as the city has notified us through the city manager and communication with me that one of the car show opportunities during Car Week that will be at the fairgrounds had intended upon using drones to provide coverage of the event. Clearly, because it's at the fairgrounds, it's in the approach path to the runway.
Yeah.
There are issues related to that. And FAA has stepped in and indicated that will not happen. But it is timely because you will hear something about that, I'm certain, as you're circulating in the community, that they have been not allowed to use the drone coverage at that event during very popular.
I actually had that question because it was announced and whatever, and I was kind of curious to how that would work. I'll go ahead and open it up. Let me do public comment first. So I can I go ahead and open it to public comment? Anyone liking to speak about this, please come up to the mic. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open it up to the dais.
Well, are we aware of any incidents that we may have had at our airport involving drones?
I'm not aware of any, no.
Nor am I.
And I know public safety is utilizing drones. Chief, are you utilizing drones at all in any fire operations or?
Do you mind coming to the mic? We're graced with Chief Penholzer today from Monterey Fire, so.
So Monterey Fire does not in itself have a drone program or have any drones, but the Seaside Fire Department runs a drone program, and CAL FIRE have drones, and I believe now the Monterey County Sheriff's Office also has a drone program. And we utilize them, but there's a whole nother body of regulations that apply to emergency services, and they're all fully compliant with any of that. And yes, we use them, but typically when we use them, we probably fly at elevations of 150 feet or something like that. And certainly we wouldn't do it right here near the airport. And I know that they, all the clearances that are required and the calls that have to be made before they launch.
And I know they actually passed a law following a lot of the wildland fires where news crews were using drones to fly over that and interfering with the firefighting aircraft that was coming down at pretty low altitudes.
It has been and probably continues to be a problem at wildfires. And generally when there's a wildfire, a no-fly zone gets created around the perimeter of the fire to prevent any unauthorized aircraft, including, recreational pilots who want to come and see, and they are not allowed to fly there either, just because the risk. Not only the fire creates a huge risk for the aircraft itself, but also then the firefighting aircraft involved. They have very strict rules about what they do to not interfere with each other, and so we can't have other people adding to that risk. So
And you talked about the sheriff's office drone squad. I know they were utilizing drones at that last barricaded subject who was shooting at them, and they were flying drones through the window, and the guy was shooting at them and swatting them like King Kong out of the air. I think they took out all their drones that they had taken to that event.
I believe they lost quite a few there, yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is last night on Next Door was a huge big thing about drones because someone had seen something just off of the shore. And so they got into a big long discussion about part 107 and what you could do and what you couldn't. And I had read this, but I went and got it and looked at it and went, I don't know enough about it to tell somebody that they're right or they're wrong. But this just goes back to there's a lot of people who think they know. I did see that one of our local photographers who does write articles for a couple of local news outlets, and also he does a lot of stuff for the San Francisco Chronicle, just went to San Francisco and took the drone operator test and passed it. He's a Seaside resident. So I saw that sign, and I know that there's another one in Seaside that passed it. So I think that we do have people who are certified around here. Maybe this is something that we just release to the newspaper and make it so that it's out there for more people to read. Because people buy them for their kids and they buy them. I was at the Monterey Museum of Arts downtown where they closed Calais P. What was it, last month or the month before? But Monterey Museum of Art hired a drone operator, and we were standing talking. All of a sudden, this little thing went buzzing around over our heads and down, and it was definitely not going sideways. I can tell you, it was just like going down the crowd and back. So I think there are a lot of people that have them that maybe don't understand all of the rules. So I like that we have it on our website, but maybe if we put it out to the public.
Yeah, some people consider it low risk because the drones now, many of them, you can buy them less than a pound. You can buy them 7-8 ounces. And now the wind will, of course, take them pretty quickly, but some of them are really small.
I wouldn't want anything hitting me, come flying at
Oh,
me.
yeah,
so-
12 pounds
12 pounds might hurt.
from 100,000 feet. Yeah, that's going to hurt.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody, Mr. Pick, Director Pick? I don't see hands raised, so I don't know if you want to speak.
Oh,
or-
thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. It's, this is only going to proliferate, right? I mean, these drones and this kind of thing. So I appreciate the education for us. Scott, going to your point of sort of balancing regulation and enforcement and making it sort of promoting compliance. I mean, it seems to me that we're not necessarily looking for more regulation as much as we are promoting communication with the airport by would-be users along the lines of some of the clips you played. If that's the case, if that's true, what if anything can we do? I noticed our page there refers to FAA circular, but it doesn't necessarily say, feel free to check in with the tower, or we encourage you to check in with the tower. I'm not even sure it's the tower they're checking in with. So any thoughts on how to improve the communication there?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I had planned to give to Amanda is some suggested updates, including how to contact the tower, putting a link to the circular itself. I'm more than happy to have the slides up on that website, if up on that page. If that's the desire to post some of those pages as appropriate. We really don't have any regulatory authority at all. We just, it's the FAA that makes the rules. We just try and get the word out. So happy to, however we can get the word out, I'm happy to do that. And again, if putting these slides on our website, great, happy to do it. but I was certainly gonna ask her to put a link to the circular and information as to how to contact the tower.
Yeah, it's, all of that sounds good to me. That's all I have.
I agree with, I think the most important thing here is what PG&E has, you call before you dig or whatever. I think we should have something like that right on that page and just make it so easy. Just that's, they click there and they've got all the contact information. I know that we don't have to, people are gonna know that FAA is people don't know that FAA is, controls it, but they're gonna come to the airport, right? So.
Happy to do it.
I think that's agreed. Wonderful. Thank you. Glad we got through it. Three times the charm.
Madam Chair, could we take 5?
Yes, certainly can. So let's come back at 10:35. How about?
Ooh, we
Take
get
7.
7.
Right. So we are back just a couple minutes later than we expected. It is still the 19th of July, and we're just talking about for scheduling for fellow directors to move closed session up and then come back and do the board committee reports and things. Director Pick, you're the only one I haven't checked with. Does that work for you in your
Fine with
schedule?
me.
Okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and move closed session up now. And then we'll come back out of closed session and we'll complete item H, the board committee reports. And go on. So, that's that for now. We've got a different room. All right. Good afternoon, 12:03. Out of closed session. Scott, was there anything reportable?
No reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you. And for the record, Director Gagliotti just left the room now. And we have Mr. Pick online with us and then the 3 of us in the room. All right, so we are to the board committee reports and acceptance of department reports. And I think we get a lot of, I think they're just, if we've got any questions ultimately, because we do get meeting minutes with this information now. Do we want to split it off or just go ahead and ask? I'm comfortable asking, but
Me
for the
too.
rest of the dais.
Me too.
Okay. Any questions for budget and finance, air services, or air property development and leases?
I just have a question and it came up after the budget and finance, so discussion. We did not have a meeting, but we had a just to sit down and chat. Can you just talk about the differences in the fire contract? Because I know Mike sent us an update that they approved the fire, or
Please,
not
you need
fire,
lease?
police contract, and it was substantially less than what was budgeted. So can you just talk about the differences? Because we've never really discussed them.
Sure. Yeah, the email that I sent out was as a result of an email we got from the city of Delray Oaks outlining our cost for this year and our cost per month. And Mark, if you've got that at hand, that would be great, but it was $1.37 million roughly.
Yes, the number that they came back with was, and it wasn't the budget number that we seen, the final budget. The number included the numbers if you back that out and calculate the number.
Yeah, except we've never seen all those numbers. So when you talk about that, that's great, but we haven't seen it. So I'm just asking you to explain it so that we all know what the difference was. That's all.
I think the last number that we shared with them was during budget, it was $1.7 million. And the number that we got from the city in email was 1.37. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna ask that we just look at that contract at the next board meeting, which would be the typical way that we should have seen it earlier, but now if we could see it, then we'll know exactly what we voted on. And if we have to do an adjustment of budget later on because we've got a significant dollar change, we'll have to discuss it anyway. Okay,
We'll share the numbers in detail.
so future agenda item.
Back on the agenda. Okay.
That was my only question because it came up with that.
Sure.
It came up an email to us. I did see that too. So. I don't think we discussed the good news that we had our busiest month ever.
We did not, yeah.
And I think we certainly should share that. We discussed that in air services, but I want to highlight that, and if you could speak to that
Yeah,
a bit.
sure. The month of June was exceedingly good for us. We were one cancellation short of 25,000 passengers.
Darn.
4999.
We would have been over 25,000 for the first time.
Was there any pets or anything we could claim?
I wish. But
Pre-seed?
June was the best month that we can find in recorded history at the airport. So we had a phenomenal June. July looks like it's a little bit softer, but only by a couple of hundred passengers. And the trend could change very quickly between now and the end of the month. So 2 very good months back to back.
Good. Not with this weather. It's not going to
Yeah.
change, but hopefully they don't know what they're coming
Need a little
into.
help, yeah.
But a lot of people actually, it's so hot other places. It's actually
yeah, they-
very refreshing to be here and throw on some layers. But, so is there a reason to do a press release on that?
I don't think so. I think we typically do that at the end of the year, and that's our intent is to highlight our progress at the end of the year.
Sometimes I think we
let me
don't.
think about that,
Yeah.
and I'll talk with the
The
team.
team. I think sometimes we don't, highlight the
Yeah.
good things that are going on ultimately. I know,
I am,
and they're maybe being shared more now,
yeah, I
but,
am
and
fully in agreement that we don't highlight the good things enough. So maybe this is an opportunity. Let me talk with the team.
I don't, Director Miller, do you have anything?
No,
Yeah, it's a pretty light report and I know we discussed things. I'm sorry, Mr. Pick. You there? Do you have anything? Sorry.
No, thank you for asking, Chair. Nothing to add.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead. Nothing with the local jurisdiction liaison ad hoc committee at this point. And then do we want to do any updates for our liaison items? And I know Director Miller, or I'm sorry, Director Lappel, you had shared about CSDA earlier.
Well, I want to share
What else?
LAFCO. So there has been, there was an item in the, one of the local newspapers that quoted that LAFCO said this and LAFCO said that. And actually that was a LAFCO employee, but it was not policy or board direction. And so that has, and there was also a letter sent to the city of Gonzales that LAFCO is saying blah, 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 but it had not been LAFCO policy or direction. So we are working at LAFCO now. Staff has been directed to come back with some ideas on policy. And this really basically goes to the land use mitigation, that it is not a subjective, like today I feel like you need to give me 2 acres for every 1 acre or 3 acres for every 1 acre. We're going to set some policy going forward. That policy has not been addressed since 2000. And it's when you look at the way that we have controlled no housing and no growth, it's definitely with some of that old policy. So that is something that is being looked at, and that will impact all of us because it's going to impact the housing numbers, how things are allowed to grow to to really accommodate our community, and particularly those in the Salinas Valley, where they are having predominantly small families and small children and not the rest of us. So that's actually the biggest news. And last night, Kate McKenna announced at CSDA that the latest proposal from Gonzalez, the application came in for a 50-acre brand new cooler, which will be another 200-300 jobs in Gonzalez. So that one came in, is pending. We have not seen it yet at the commission level, and I didn't know it was in until she mentioned it last night. So that's, I would say LAFCO is a little busier than it was. So that's LAFCO. And we have no meeting in July. We're dark in July. So we'll meet again the end of August. That's it.
Sounds good.
Anything?
Chair, brief report on the taxi authority.
Sure, go. Please do.
So the Regional Taxi Authority held its annual meeting. During that annual meeting, they adopted a budget for the year. The big news is really that the authority continues to operate on a deficit. So the budget they approved continued to dig into reserves. They'll be looking at the potential of increasing fees. They've been very averse to raising fees on service providers, but they'll be looking at that over the coming year. The structure and capability of our taxi services is under pressure from rideshare apps and other things. So that is a concern. They also voted to approve some use of MST coupons for taxi service in South County to extend that capability down to our southern county cities. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I think the only other thing is MPAD.
I did not attend the meeting. Nothing really looked related to us on the agenda, and I did miss the meeting. I apologize. When is that meeting usually?
Oh, Carl, I don't recall.
It's usually the night of, or
Wednesday night?
Yeah, it's
isn't it?
Wednesday night.
night, yeah.
Because I have not received one. Maybe they're dark in July. I don't know, but I'll.
They typically,
They do take some dark
yeah.
time in the summer months, so it could have been that July didn't even have a meeting.
Yeah, I'll give them a call and see if they're having one, a meeting this month.
Are you getting the meeting information?
I wasn't, then I started getting them, but they're just a scheduling problem, so I ended up missing it.
And Director Sabo with TAMC, I know we'll look at replacing that or finding someone for that. And as Director,
Excuse me.
Yes.
Chair, is TAMC a board appointment or is it a county?
No, it's the
Or
It's the board, okay.
liaison, they have no voting,
no voting rights.
kind of like
Kinda
AMPAG.
Yeah. But tonight, the roundtable, which was already mentioned.
Yeah, at 4:30.
That Director Leffel will be able to attend.
Roundtable about roundabout.
So you can go round and round.
Round.
Hopefully there's not a tilt-a-whirl. All right, so we addressed closed session earlier, pending requests for future.
Special districts, I didn't,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
So special districts, last night, our guest speaker was Sheriff Nieto. And she discussed her first 7 months, which have been, wow, trial by flood from start to finish. And she talked about her cooperation with the Board of Supervisors and the budgeting of things that are kind of, I'm going to say, trailing pieces. There was a lawsuit in 2014 that was settled that demands there are changes at the jail, but her budget doesn't reflect what can take care of those demands. So she just came back to the Board of Supervisors for an additional $1.5 million because she needs it in order to make sure that she's within the parameters of that lawsuit settlement. So it was a really good, I think, conversation, and special districts asked what they could do to work with her or to help her. Marina Coastal Water District, one of their board members suggested that quite possibly if there are needs of heavy equipment that aren't being used by districts, that when they have flooding and things like that, that maybe she could coordinate a call out and that people would be willing to lend and put some support behind it. So yeah, I think it was a good meeting. It was, very frank, which she is, and I appreciate. And so it was a good show. And last night, Dominic Dursa, who works for Speaker of the House, Robert Rivas, did announce that they are having their open house for Robert next Wednesday. And it will be at the Steinbeck Center in Salinas at 5:30. And so you have to have an RSVP. I have that invitation. I got one myself. So if you want, I can send it if anybody wants to go. So you want to go, Mike?
Yeah, send it. if you would.
Okay. So anyway, I can send it out but it'll be packed. It will be packed. So, and there will be a shortage of parking. So just heads up, if you're going, go early. Go have a beer someplace on Main Street and then walk on down because it will be crazy over there
So it's at the museum, not the
At-
house.
at the Steinbeck Center.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, that's my,
I apologize.
That's
I
okay.
thought- No problem. So then we're to pending requests for future agenda items. And we heard the request for the police contract change, just the numbers around that to be added. To receive the report on emergency procedures and preparedness, does that include, I'm thinking that includes the urgent communications and things. Or are we seeing that as two different?
I think I would want to take some direction from the board. Again, I'm a little puzzled. We can tell you about, things like what's on backup power generation. Some things we can't share with you because it's sensitive security information. We can tell you about the requirements for some of the plans that we have, like we can't give you the details on the security plan, but we can give you the details on the airport certification plan. I don't know exactly what you want there, so if you can enlighten us, we can put something out there.
I think this was created, and I don't recall creating it or putting it in these terms, but I think it was about when the backup power came up, when we went on generator power and some of those things. So just
Okay.
what, I think there's this awareness, and again, now we've got 3 pretty new members. Before I was always balancing that I was the newest member and maybe others had awareness, but I think
your shine wore off. You're not new anymore.
4 years in, I got
You
different
can't
stripes.
claim this anymore.
I got 2 that are under a year, so now, but yeah, just kind of some of that. And I know like we do a 1-year annual drill
Yeah, we
that,
do.
I mean, I think maybe just, I don't know if
Okay.
that, does anyone else on the board remember? I know Bill had some more with it too, but I know that it was the generator power and some of those
What's on
things and,
generator power?
yeah.
We can do that. That's pretty simple. We can tell you the certification is what you just articulated, which is every three years we do our triennial exercise, which is live emergency
Mhm.
practice. Annually, we do a what's called a tabletop exercise. It emulates what we do live, but it does it on tabletop, same players in the room. It's basically role play
Okay.
on a table.
Mhm.
So we can walk you through the requirements there.
Anything else that people are looking for or?
So you have to file, and Carl and I sat through a session on this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I know that Ken Griggs was the person on the staff who was in charge of it at that time. He had the flash drive or whatever it was. But you have to file a report of if suddenly 22 planes got diverted here, of how you feed them and how you do this and how you do that. How often does that get updated?
The plan itself, the plan itself doesn't get updated, it gets approved. We update only as players in that plan chain. But it doesn't articulate, like if you change a restaurant operator, it doesn't articulate who the restaurant operator is. So if the changeover from Golden Tea to Woody's wouldn't have been articulated in that plan, but it just says your restaurant will be available to provide, or how you will provide food and water, access to food and water. If that's the plan you're talking about, it's a pretty basic plan, so it doesn't.
I don't know what Bill was talking about. I'm just,
Yeah,
she's asking, is there anything else while it's
Yeah.
on here? And I'm just saying that was the thing that kind of came to
Okay.
mind. Because I think it was Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it was because of the Final Four and something else all being in Indianapolis at the same time. And then they had something big in Chicago. And so all of those mid-sized airports got totally slammed with diversions. And that was what it was a hot topic about 5 years ago. And so we sat through a session on it, and then it occurred to me as Bill was talking about this, that if you've got people like you call so-and-so at the Portola, because I think that was something we talked about. I think it's before you got here. That's how long
Sounds
ago
like
I
it
think we
would.
discussed
Sounds
it.
like it would have been. Yeah.
But it was like, oh, you call so-and-so at the Portola, or you do this, or you do that. And I'm like, well, a lot of those people change. How do you all keep up with who you notify? So if suddenly everything goes to hell, that you're not trying to figure out whose cell phone to call or text, because that person retired from the Marriott 4 years ago. So that was my.
Part of that is why we do the annual tabletop, because those are not just for diversions, but for an incident. Those are similar issues that we would have in an incident as well. So that's part of the annual, is that those are all looked at annually as well too. But
So you pull the lists of everybody and you make sure that all those people are in place and that all those businesses are still open and blah, blah, blah.
yeah, we review all of those, that emergency response, who's gonna call who are the numbers, et cetera. Those are all components of that plan that we're looking at.
Okay. I just, I mean,
There's that portion, and there's the one that I was referring to called the connectivity. And they're parallel to each other, but they function differently. If you get diversions, and there was a period where airlines were notorious for holding passengers on
the
airport
airport,
for long
yeah.
periods.
and I think that was the other thing that
Mhm.
really triggered this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's called the tarmac delay plan. And it's the contact information, it's the same, it's what we updated. Certification.
Okay. I mean, they had a total mess and they learned from it, and the plan that they had, I came back and gave it to Ken, because I think that's who I was told to give it to. And, it's like, okay, yeah, fine, never mind, go away, board member, we got it. But I'm like, maybe you don't, because maybe we know more people in the community than you do. So just, if you got it, you got it. We don't want to hear that everybody's running around like a chicken with their head cut off when it happens.
So then I would add however you want to do it, if you want to put it together, but I think, and we heard today, the crisis communication plan's urgent. I know that Chris had shared that they're working on that as a team, but whether it's together or it's separated, however it is. So, all right, anything else?
Yeah, just a comment, Mark. I've noticed a lot of color in your presentation. It certainly caught my eye. It just seemed more colorful than than earlier.
He's tweaking
It's a
it.
good thing. It's a good thing.
He's trying to keep you awake while you're looking at numbers. Appreciate it.
Financial reporting. for
Well, it
dummies.
jumps out at you.
That's what we used to call it in banking.
All right. If nothing else, I'll go ahead and ask for adjournment
So moved.
at 12:26.
Second.
Seconded.
Thank you all.
Yeah, get out of that tent.